Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Shanasia Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. And just like that, we are back like we never left. I'm your beautiful host, Shanasia Washington, streaming from Houston, Texas, and this is the Her Voice Shines podcast. And on today, I love that this show is taking a different step to amplifying voices. And I'm really excited about the guests, the movement, and really all that is to come. I will tell you that in speaking with this next guest, I have been blown away. I've been blown away with the heart, the passion, the vision. And she's not the everyday woman. She's one that really can transcend boundaries. And that's why I'm so excited about her project and her mission. I'm not going to yap long because this is the Cellblock Talk TV edition. You're going to find out more about what that is when she comes to the stage. So without any further waiting time, here's my very beautiful guest for today.
Hey, Shanasia. Hey, how are you? I'm so honored to be on your podcast. I am so, this is like stoked. I'm really thinking in my head, God, did you bring me here? And he did. And Her Voice Shines podcast, that speaks volumes to everything that Cellblock Talk is about. Cellblock Talk TV is a project that has been birthed in a very dark, ugly place. And when I say that literal. It's not just saying it as how some people would say, well, you say prison is dark, prison is ugly. No, I was in the hole in D Tower in Maricopa County Jail when God gave me this inspiration on what he was doing in the lives of people coming out of prison. So I will share with you what Cellblock Table Talk TV is about. It is a group of women that come together to share their stories on what has happened from the tragedy of their life of crime, going to prison, the abuse in prison, and then coming home and having that triumphant, success, doing things in their community. And it's just not about millions of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's about coming back in their community and being community citizen, contributing to the communities that they left, that was broken by actions maybe of theirs or others, and providing not only their voice, but their strength to rebuild a community, rebuild their family, and to just start over life again. And I'm so happy and ecstatic that I get the chance to be on your podcast and share that vision of what God gave me, because truly, I'm telling you, to me, to want to do a TV project, never. But I know this is truly a project that's inspired by someone higher than myself, that has nothing to do with just here in this lifetime. I believe that Cellblock Talk TV is going to be able to be the voice for people throughout the nation, because prison is not just bars. You can be in prison in your own home. You can be in prison at your job. You can be in prison in a relationship. You can be in prison to mental health issues that you don't want to face or deal with. So I am so happy that conversations are going to be had, situations are going to come about, and we're going to share like never before with so many people about this show.
And I love it. And when I heard Cellblock Talk TV, I told her when we had our first conversation, I was like, man, this is such an energizing project for me. And I say that from a place of heart. Reason being, you guys podcast day in, day out, there's been tons of episodes. What you will see is that I've talked to all kinds of women, all kinds of titles, all kinds of this, that, and the other. But one of the things I knew here is that when you get that negative connotation of a title, whether if it's somebody gives it to you or the law gives it to you, it spins people's mindset as it relates to the person behind the title. I want you to talk about first getting the title of criminal or felon. The first thing, number one, understanding that title, and then number two, some things that came out of being labeled that.
Oh, wow. I mean, from the very first point that you're put in handcuffs and you know that you're going to jail and you know that this is a serious situation. I mean, I would say from a person that's doing jaywalking all the way to a person that has had a significant crime as myself, you say to yourself, life is over, because the stigma that comes with incarceration, the stigma that comes with being locked up, the stigma that comes with you're a felon, you are no good, you're trash, society, you're deemed by society to never be useful again. And you realize, okay, what am I going to do with my life when this is over? Do I have a life after this? I've heard people that have shared just with me stories about how people have killed themselves. And can I honestly understand where that person was at that place of wanting to kill yourself after you get this stigma of getting a number, looking at a sentence, knowing that label that they put on you that's invisible, but it never goes away because it comes up if you try to get a job, apartment, or if you just even try to apply for a credit card, it's there. Yeah, you do want to kill yourself because guess what? You feel like there's no other option. But I have to say that if you don't look at, some people do, their self-help, some people do Buddha, some people do Christianity, some people have Muslim, but you have to seek for help outside of this, outside of your community, because you're labeled as a felon. Even when it says ex-felon, you paid your debt to society. Do you ever really pay your debt? Because you still have to live with that stigma. And that's the hard part of living life every day, being constantly reminded of what you did wrong. Could you imagine you as a parent telling your child, when you were 2, you didn't go to the bathroom that day and I had to spank you, and the child is now 22 and you're saying, did you remember to go to the bathroom? Did you remember that you peed on yourself? And you do that in front of everybody, their classmates, and you do it in front of people they work at. How you think that makes that person feel?
And we've kind of gone through that earlier part, in conversation about how somebody could potentially walk this walk and become labeled as a felon. Now, one of the things I want you to talk about and weave this into your journey, I know we talked about some things that happened early on. You said there was a point in time in my life when, I was an adolescent or a certain situation happened. You can talk about the situation or not talk about the situation, but I want you to talk about from those earlier constructs, those earlier places in you that you had to go when you first had that aha moment, this is probably the first time where I had to think and do things that were beyond my age.
Or beyond myself. I mean, I thought that,
go ahead.
It was when I was incarcerated in Maricopa County. I was there for 3.5 years awaiting my sentence. I had to start looking at my life because it was such a hard, dark time for me with my children and what they were going through. And I said to myself, God, show me where did this trauma, where did this end up? Where in life did that enter my life that I did not want to be who I was? I did not want to be Antrum Ames. I did not want to live the life that Antrum Ames and who she was. So pretending to be someone else was simple because I did not want to be me, because I didn't like me. I didn't like the person that I saw when I looked in the mirror. And so when you look in the mirror and you're wondering, why don't you like you? What happened to you? And talking to therapists and reading self-help books and getting the chaplains and different people there, they say you need to reflect back to your childhood. And sharing a little bit of it is my mom died when I was 12. My grandmother died when I was 16. All my immediate family had died before I was 16 years old. Everybody that from aunts, uncles, and all that. You see the little movie, if you ever saw Spike Lee Crooklyn, where the little girl was sitting on the steps, that reminded me of me. So when my mom died and I was 12, it was October. I never forget it, October 28th. And I realized at 12 years old, my grandmother was struggling from that point. And I looked at my birthday was November the next month. And I said to my grandmother, I said, my sisters and brothers are going to have Christmas. What are we going to do? And at a 12 to 13-year-old little girl shouldn't be having that conversation. You shouldn't be worried about what your 3 siblings are going to have for Christmas at 12 years old. But I had to worry about that from 12 to 13 because I loved my family enough and I loved my siblings and I hurt for them because we had now lost the person that was our security, that would provide for us. She wasn't the best mother, but she wasn't the worst. We had food, we had clothes, we had things. Yeah, alcoholism was a part of her life, but she still maintained. And so I share with you this story because my brother was dating a girl who was 17 years old and could get a job. And I said, Tanya, can I use your ID to get a job? And I can work at McDonald's downtown. Now, mind you, 13 years old and working in downtown New York and going to school at August Martin High School, then getting on the subway to go downtown to go to work, then come back home at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. That was my life. And that's where it entered in that I had to do what I had to do to be someone else so that I could survive and take care of my family. And when society looks at that, they look at you and they will paint you as a monster. But in all actuality, I say to people, look at the trauma. The average person from 12 to 13 is not going through that. But when that's somebody's reality, because the system did not want to give my grandmother money for us or give us anything but food stamps is from what my grandmother got. She didn't get any additional money because she was our grandparent. And at that time, they didn't have foster care for, family members and all of that. So my grandmother on a cane, walking, living on disability, trying to pay her bills, having to take in 4 little kids. I was 12. My sister, which was the baby, was 2. And then my 2 brothers were 11 and 8. And so when you look at that, you look at the fact that this was our life. And so life was lifing. It wasn't a saying back then, but that's the best way I can explain it, is that that's when it entered in that I needed to be someone else because who I wasn't good enough. The 12-year-old that I was couldn't make it.
And that's why I wanted you to go there, because so many people never get that part of the journey. All they get is the title. All they get is what the other people say. And I have told Ann this several times. There are people that are standing today that could have never walked a mile in your shoes, ever. It could have taken them out of here. And I say that from a pure place in my heart. So when she shared that with me, it gave me chills because it showed me that at the age of 12, I already had to be something that I'm not. I already had to use someone else's information that was not mine to go and get jobs and to navigate this space. So it created that breeding ground of someone who Ann. So to see Ann come around and be full circle and work on a project like this, I told her it's nothing small, because these are the things that people need to hear about journeys of women who you slap the label on, throw them to the wolves, and you have no idea about the walk or what got them to be there. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, when you were first incarcerated, talk about the experience, because sometimes people see these reality shows about prison. Your last day in prison was a pretty rough one. I want you to talk about that experience and what it does to someone mentally, because to come out like this and us have this conversation and the type of conversations we have, that's no small blessing. Still have strong mental health, strong tenacity, and you do not look like what you've been through. So I want you to talk about that mental strain of being inside the prison system.
Prison, most people will say, okay, You see The Orange is the New Black. Nice show. Some of it's actually true. Not all of it, but some of it's cut for TV. Prison is no cakewalk. I never want no little girl watching this, or no grown woman, nobody that's going through something, to think that prison is a hop, skip, and a jump, or it is a sorority. Never want you to think that. Anytime you're away from your family and you can't provide for yourself nor your family, and you are behind a system that doesn't care about you, is traumatic. Let's get that first point out there. It's traumatic. It is horrifying. It is terrifying. But can you survive it? Yes. Will you survive it if you have to? Yes, you will. I did. It wasn't easy. I mean, I didn't like everybody that lived next to me. I didn't like everybody that slept on the side of me. I didn't want to deal with the woman that was coming in the jail and she was kicking and throwing up. And I didn't have a choice for her to be next to me or not. I didn't have a choice for someone that had lice in their hair to lay their head next to mine. I didn't have a choice for someone who would steal my stuff to be right there, and I got to watch my back. I had no choice. So you don't get to choose your neighbor. You don't get to choose who you sleep by, who you take a shower with. You have no choice. That's just what happens. But you can navigate yourself in a sense of you going there to do your time, and that's it. This is not to come and make a sorority. Did I grow friends in there and sisters and play daughters? Of course, because when you live around people long enough and when you are there, you have to adjust to the environment you're in. Guess what? Everybody does it. You see stray dogs on the street. They will see the other stray dogs. Let me tell you something. You see a stray pit bull on the street and it's a chihuahua out there. They might fight a little bit, but when it comes to survival, they walking to find their next meal together, right? Same thing in prison. Two different animals, two different beasts, but when it comes to surviving together and you have no choice, you won't fight, you'll eat. Guess what? And sometimes you will fight. Sometimes you won't. That's just life. And how I navigated it is I just stayed to myself, did my thing, read my books, did my self-help. I watched Bishop Jakes every day in the TV room or on my tablet when he came on TBN. It was my ritual. I needed outside of that. And I tell people, everybody who knows me will share this story with you from jail or prison. And they give you 1 free hour on the tablet to watch TV or 1 free movie, I should say, and on a Sunday. And I would watch Jumping the Broom. And because I love love, I'm a person who loves love. I will love even if it hurts me. I love a happy love ending story. And I think for 3 years, I watched Jumping the Broom till I found out that Bishop Jakes is a person who produced Jumping the Broom. And so I would watch it till I know all the words of the story. So you find ways to make it through. And I found my way to make it through at 50 years old now, being 51 next month. I give honor to God because for me, he was my source. And for another person, Allah will be their source. But for me, God, Jesus Christ brought me through it. Nobody else.
I love it. And that code of resilience that was built, and the beautiful part of it, and I tell you this all the time, but in those times that you were in there, all the things that you wrote, I mean, this lady had journals and diaries upon diaries and all of these different things. She's a reader, she's a researcher, she's a writer. So get to a point to where you're seeing all of these writings and things. And it's in the beginning stages, but they're coming to fruition in. The things that you wrote about, people are getting deliverance from already. People are already saying that this is something that will be a game changer. This is something that will ignite conversation, right? What does that feel like? Because when you're in the thing, right? When you're in the trauma, when you're in the struggle, when you're in the pain, you can't always see the glory. So when you get to the other side of that and you're like, all this, I'm gonna walk it out and I have to. I can't do it no other way. You know who I am. So when you get to the other side of this and people are reading what you wrote in such a dark time when you didn't even know what the next day will hold, how does it feel for somebody to say, and this is good. This is something that we need to hear. What are the feelings like now?
I give it back to God because I believe that I shared this with a lady when I was talking to my god sister Keisha. She had a lady get on the phone, and I don't want to chop her name up, so I just say the lady. I think it's Miss Cheryl or something, but she shared something with me that I never understood. All of the writing that I was doing, all of the journaling, all the research, all of the downloads from God, God gave me that so that I wouldn't die spiritually. And so what I find now is that what he provided for me as a lifeline wasn't only for me, it's for so many other people, but he utilized me at a time where it was quiet, and that I heard him, because if I was anywhere else, I wouldn't have heard him, because I've always been a busybody wanting to do and create my own situation. But because I was in a place that I could hear from him, that I needed to listen, and that I needed the Holy Spirit like never before, he used me. And when I look at the writings that I wrote and I go back to read it today, and other people read them, and I have some of them out with Eric now that I don't have with me because I have boxes of them. I say to myself, God, you really used this little girl here that was 12 and broken, that now is going to therapy, now that's doing counseling, because the voices and the doubts that was in my head wouldn't stop playing, but you still use me in the midst of my chaos, and in the midst of my storm. You was able to download in me that would share and transcend through a nation of people, because 2.3 million people are behind the walls of a prison today. That's a whole state of people. I mean, even though they're scattered everywhere, that there is some places in third world countries don't have that many people in them. But guess what? God is using me to be a voice and a representative, one of many representatives, to be that representative for them, and to use me and to pen to paper his desire. And for me to see it walked out, I'm just like flabbergasted, because I'm like, I'm nobody.
But you're doing hot things in the kingdom. So
Yes.
that's the part. Okay, that is the part that people miss. And then that is the real goal. Because when I thought, I was like, man, the other part that the show tackles is this reintegration piece, which, yeah, we get it. You know, there's a title, and there's actually, you know, the space in jail that's uncomfortable. But then it's this whole other world coming out. It's this whole other world of resources, and what do I need? And, you know, I can't get a lease. And, you know, you'll see other members of the cast on the show here shortly. And we touched on these things, but the visionary, because this was her vision, to be able to touch on some of those reintegration pieces. I want her to touch on difficulties there, and why that piece of it is so important to really that special spark of Cellblock Talk TV.
In regards to the lease and getting a place and getting a job, I share in touch with that, because you can't take me out of a community and then bring me back and tell me that I can't get a place to stay. Right now, you will find in the homeless population that at least 45 to 50% of them have been incarcerated at some point in time. Because guess what? You can have a good job. You could get another job at Circle K, QT, making a little above minimum wage, and get you a studio apartment. But if you can't get a studio apartment, you can't keep a job, because where are you going to shower? Where are you going to eat? Where are you going to get proper rest to go to work? You're just not going to do it, because guess what? You can't get a place. You know, having a place to stay is very, very essential, and that's important, and having transportation. So one of the things that I had to do outside of this is I developed the National Coalition for Reducing Recidivism, so that I could build on the arguments of things that we needed. But I believe that Cellblock Talk is going to be a catalyst to share on a large platform, to talk to lawmakers as we interview them with people who were formerly incarcerated, to share their struggles, to share what What needs to happen so that you can help us better integrate back into the community? Because until we get that system fixed, yeah, there's a multitude of programs that are starting up, but they're really improperly funded because they don't give enough money. Because guess what? This population is not warm and fuzzy. It's not veterans. It's not foster kids. It's not none of those things. But guess what? Foster kids, veterans, all have something in common with us. Somebody they know have been to prison, because 79 million people have been impacted by incarceration at some point in their life. And that's from the policymakers and different people at the Department of Justice that gave these stats. So we must address it. You don't want to. In order for our society to be better, you must address the issues that really arise. Because I was reading about the man who shot at Prince Charles, who's now the king. I think the Queen Elizabeth died. I'm not so big on the, monarchies, but the guy who shot him got community hours. And in America, he would have got the death penalty. I mean, not the death penalty. He didn't kill him, but he would have gotten life in prison. And in some states, he could have got the death penalty, depending on the state. So we have to look at how we view incarcerating people, what we do. No, we don't want you to shoot somebody and then just get community hours, but we want to figure out what could we do better and how could we best serve people that's coming out of prison. We need to address our lawmaking as well as how we help. And as we talk to lawmakers on the show, and that's our one of the focuses, interviewing them, we want to be able to get that conversation going on what we need to do, how we need to do, and how we can bring forth change. And so I'm excited about Cellblock Talk TV and all the hot things that we will be doing. And I'm excited about all the women that will be a part of the cast in the future, because I know that everybody's going to bring their light and their shine to it.
And the other thing that I love about this is the diversity within prison women, right? Once you get the label, you're just a prison woman, but there are so many different stories. There are so many different angles to it, so many different experiences just within this one community of women. And that is something that we're learning very early on, in this process. And I just want to say here that this show is doing phenomenal things already just within the early launch of it, and really looking to build a community. I am advocating for them. I know that they're having an upcoming casting call. They are looking for women who have been incarcerated. They want to know specifically where you were incarcerated. They want you to upload your videos to Facebook. There are going to be some things on their page that talk about the casting call. So if you are a woman and you've been incarcerated and you are doing positive things in your community, you have found a way to reintegrate into the system, we want to hear from you. This show will be something that creates a ripple effect. And then even in me going back in my personal journey and thinking about how incarceration has touched my family and different people who have been incarcerated, I am just more inclined and more of a believer about the power of this show. Make sure you follow Cellblock Talk TV on all the social media platforms, specifically on Facebook, because they're going to be ramping up really soon with this casting call. And we want to make sure that we equal opportunity to jump on in. I am going to allow Ann to talk a little bit about her family life and just about her incarceration and how that impacted her personal family. And then we'll kind of wrap up. But I want to make sure that we have that as an angle, because there are going to be people that are sitting there thinking that they haven't done enough, or they don't have enough of a story to be able to participate in the casting call. But my goal here at Her Voice Shines is to make this as authentic as possible and tell people that we're all going through things and everybody has a story. And I want to make sure that Ann is represented as quickly as possible in the time allowed. So I'm going to give you the opportunity, Ann, and we'll be back to close the show.
Okay. Well, I want to tell you guys that, trust me, no one in America thinks that life is easy right now, because it's not. Everybody, life is lifing. Everybody has a situation. I can tell you, I go through so much from a day to day that I put my hand on my head and say, God, really? Another thing? God, really, do you want me to do this or do you want me to sit down? Because I can't take another thing from my children. You know, I have a son that has mental health issues that gets incarcerated for trespassing and other things like that, and going off and having outrage fits, and then having people just come against you. All kind of things happen. But you know what? And then relationship wise, you don't find the right one, scratching your head. Am I going to find love? Am I worthy or deserving of real love? All those things are going on. I'm human just like you. I'm going through life, trust me. But at the end of the day, I'm still here fighting the good fight of cause and faith to say, Cellblock Talk, my voice can be heard, because there's a young girl that's sitting in a juvenile facility that's looking at, maybe 6-7 months a year. And I want her to know, if she runs across a video or runs across the information in Cellblock Talk, it's not worth it. Stop now while you're ahead. You can become a success story. This does not have to define who you are. This here, your past, does not dictate your future. It just implements the strength to be a better you. So I invite you all to come on board, send your video, and guess what? I know life is life, and it's worth it, because guess what? I heard today that little regional planes are only small because they go from state to state, but you get a big plane and a double decker that goes around the world, because the more weight on a thing, the longer distance you can go. So come on, join us. I look forward to hearing your stories and working alongside of you guys. Thank you so much. Look forward to talking with you on Cellblock Talk TV.
I absolutely love it. And I told y'all that this was a good thing. I told you that this woman is a true visionary. And I believe in her mission. I'm so honored that she shared the space here on Her Voice Shines podcast. I don't take it lightly. You guys know I'm a for real storyteller now. And these stories matter to me. And I'm telling you, and I am declaring that everything that you're called to get, you shall get. I want to thank everybody in the Her Voice Shines podcast land for listening to this. Make sure you do those things. If you are not a woman that has been incarcerated and you are not, a part of this community, please share it with someone else that may be. I want to thank you again for being here. I will never leave this place. I'll tell you that I love you. And miraculous things happen when you let your voice shine. Until next time, I'll be back with another amazing woman. We love you, and we're out.